Today I fucked up by waiting 12 hours to tell my girlfriend about a positive STD test.
My girlfriend, 38 female, we'll call her Jill, and I, 37 male, have been together for a year and 2 months now. 8 months of that time we spent living 1,500 miles apart.
I was away for training for work and away from all my family and friends and my lady. I was incredibly homesick by the time I finally made it back home in June 2024 and super excited to see my family, friends and find some normalcy with my relationship with Jill. A string of uncontrollable events start to occur out of nowhere. Random tire blowout, get rear-ended with Jill in the car, and a random letter from Vitalant, a blood donation facility, letting me know I tested positive for HCV antibodies. Talk about a blow to the gut. Some background. I am very conscious of my health and most importantly anyone I date or have sex with. I have been donating blood and plasma for 20 years with the understanding that my blood is always getting tested for many different diseases and STDs before being shipped off to help someone. I enjoy donating blood and plasma and I have never taken a single penny for doing so. I take pride in giving because I know I can directly help someone. So knowing that my blood is always being tested, at least a time or two a year, I knew confidently that I am clean and not infected with any STDs, and that my safe sex practice was keeping myself and others healthy. Oh, and I have never once used a needle for drugs or taken any hard drugs in my life. Weed and psilocybin are the wildest things I've done. Opening this letter was an absolute shock. I even got lightheaded. How could I, after being so careful, all of a sudden have HCV? I initially didn't realize what I was reading and that it was negative for the actual virus and positive for antibodies. To add to this, Jill is sitting downstairs with my stepmother, and her and I are late to my her's birthday lunch. I had only seen my mother one time before this B-Day dinner, so before opening the letter, I was excited to see her and celebrate her. To add to it, my little brother's birthday dinner was literally a few hours after the lunch. He's turning 18. Huge day for him and I am so pumped to see him grow up. Two of the most important people in my life on their most important days. Who I am celebrating with the most important woman to me. Jill and I may have either been infected by her at some point or I infected her. My brain is swirling with what to do next. Do I tell her right now and risk being late to my mom's B-Day? Do I just wait until after? WTF. I have an STD. I couldn't stop the thoughts, and I just made the decision to take the letter with me and get to the lunch with Jill so we aren't late. In the back of my head all day I am telling myself, I need to tell Jill, I need to tell Jill. But I am also thinking, don't do it today, celebrate bro and mom and tell her in the morning. So that's what I did, just stuffed it down, and celebrated everyone. I got to see a bunch of my family that I haven't seen for almost a year at 2 different occasions in the same day. It was weird but amazing at the same time. Jill enjoyed herself and got to see parts of my family that I've been wanting her to meet for a while. Bittersweet. The next morning Jill and I are out getting coffee and I break the news to her and show her the letter. She immediately thinks I've been cheating on her and blames me for lying through omission. I have never heard that phrase in my life, so I really didn't understand what she meant. But I knew she was going to be upset and I was going to sit in it with her because that's what I have to do. We had already had a shitty week dealing with insurance companies, attorneys and healthcare. We got rear-ended, hard, a week prior, so we were both not sleeping our best, not exercising, and just frustrated with that situation. Now this. We both agreed that we aren't going to talk about this with anyone until we know for sure. To keep a really long story as short as possible, we got a blood test done and we both tested negative for all STDs and init bodies. The HCV init body test was a false positive, thank God. I helped her understand that I did not cheat and I trust that she hasn't cheated on me. We are faithful to each other and mature about being in a relationship. But she is still upset about me, lying by omission, because I didn't tell her right away and let her decide how that day should have gone. I admit that I could have absolutely handled that better, but seeing that I had an STD, the birthdays happening that day and not wanting to let anyone down by being late, but also knowing I need to tell her, I made a decision in the moment and went with it. Jill and I are sitting down having a beer with her roommate and she brings up the blood test in front of her. I immediately ask, she knows? Exclamation mark quote. This kind of hurt for me because we haven't actually had a conversation about the whole thing to kind of bury the hatchet. So I got pretty upset that she broke our promise to not talk to anyone about it.
It was frustrating, but I let her know I felt, and we talked, and I was better. This all went down about a month ago. And today, I find out she has been harboring feelings of lost trust and connection due to my lying by omission.
I am beside myself and just have no idea how to approach this. I can see from her side of the story why it's a big deal, because her first marriage ended due to her ex cheating on her and lying about it for a long time. I feel terrible for stirring up those feelings in her and making her think I would do the same thing. The reality is I was just trying to do what was best for everyone, and clearly I fucked up. I honestly feel like this is something we can overcome, but I also feel like she is giving up or maybe even entertaining other men. Who knows? I am just upset because we have had such a great time together up to this point, and it feels like this isn't something that should break us. Other than this false positive test, I have been upfront in communicating about everything that she needed to know right away. Too long did not read. Today I fucked up by waiting 12 hours to tell my girlfriend about a positive HCV antibody test that was later found to be a false positive. Now she is harboring negative feelings because I lied by omission, and has lost trust and connection. Edit. Well, this post generated much more of a response than I was expecting. Couple things. The initial test result from Vitalent was in fact a false positive. Both Jill and I tested negative for full panel and antibodies. We have done premarital counseling to the tune of 8 sessions that all went very well. And we have a session on Monday with said therapist/counselor to navigate this situation. I am not going to comment on what my current mindset is or what my intentions are. I will know better on Monday after our session based on how she decides to show up. I am immensely grateful for all of these comments. It's going to be difficult no matter what happens next, so I just appreciate the insight, stories, jokes, some good ones out there, and ideas for what to do next. Thank you. I'll try to remember to update on Monday. You didn't fuck up by not telling someone that news for 12 hours. Your GF has trust issues already. You did nothing wrong. You didn't lie by omission because you told her. She didn't find out. You have a right to broach bad news in the right time and place. She would do the same to you, no doubt. I fail to see the fuck up. Girlfriend immediately feels because you got a positive test that she has the right to dictate how the interaction should go, without regard for your mental state or well-being regarding the issue, because she has trust issues. You processed the information the way you needed to, and then handled it the best you could, which was a good way to handle it, maturely. And now she's pissed at you because you didn't immediately process it together, that you needed time to work through it? That's not how fucking trust works. There are still things my wife and I of 11 years struggle to discuss with each other. We grow together. What she's doing is telling you that her feelings matter more than yours. No fuck up here, my dude. Yeah. Waiting a day in those circumstances seems fine to me. Sounds like you guys were already having issues. My mom waited to tell me she had cancer until the day after my birthday. This isn't the disease, it's a symptom of a much larger issue. You are allowed time to process your feelings. 12 hours is completely reasonable. You didn't fuck up. Your girlfriend is gaslighting you. Today I fucked up by being good at reading my fiance. As the title says, I, 23 female, and my fiance, 22 male, have been together almost 2 years now. I know him very well and he is the love of my life. We joke around a lot and we tell stories all the time, but with that I've learned that he is a horrible liar. I have always chalked the reasoning of why I know up to the hundreds of hours of videos I've watched of body language analysis and verbal tells. I'm obviously no genius and I clearly am not certified to be 100% factual on everything that I state here, but I will say that from a young age I learned how to lie, parental issues, shocker. And I lie very well. So, I've sort of trained myself to stay away from certain tells when lying. However, when I speak to others, I typically seek them out. Usually because I'm bored or if I'm trying to get the truth about some juicy gossip lol. Regardless, because of this, I've slowly come to know my fiance's tells very well. He's not a very good liar, and he has this facial twitch that usually gives him away. So, here's what happened. My fiance and I were joking around the other night after some fun nighttime activities, and he had made a joke about the best BJ he's ever had. So, naturally, being his fiance and in a joking mood, I say, well, that's obviously me, duh, and laugh it all off. His response to that was, obviously, with an eye roll. However, I caught him doing his facial twitch and his voice got a bit higher than usual.
My face immediately dropped and he asked what was wrong.
I told him that everything was fine and it's no big deal. He obviously knew that was a lie, because, let's face it, he saw my face drop.
He kept pressuring me about what was wrong and, since our whole relationship has been built up on communication and keeping that open, I finally fessed up and told him that I knew he was lying.
He told me that he wasn't and that he was telling 100% of the truth, but again his voice got all squeaky. I pointed this out and explained that I knew he was still lying, and why. He then tried to deepen his voice, which just made me laugh really hard because, again, I knew he was lying. Well, it turns out I wasn't wrong.
After about half of an hour of me telling him to just drop it and that it was no big deal, he finally told me the truth. Apparently I'm only the second best he's had.
So, definitely a blow to the ego right there. I felt my stomach drop and instantly regretted everything that I've ever learned.
So, I have learned my lesson now.
I not only regret learning all of that information when I was younger, thinking that I would be so cool to be able to pick up on lies people tell, but I also regret purposefully learning my fiance's tells. I mean, I guess I won in the end because I'm going to be marrying the man and not the woman who is in first, but still.
Definitely a hit to the ego, for sure.
TLR, I learned that my fiancé is an awful liar, and he lied about the fact that I'm the best BJ he's ever had. Shake it off. You can still get the trophy for the most given tears of joy.
The girl who gave me the best BJ I've ever had was the most traumatic, exhausting, emotionally painful relationship I have ever been in.
I'm a damaged person because of it. I'd rather be with someone where each blowjob somehow manages to be the worst I've ever had, but is a loving and healthy relationship any day. From a guy, even being the second best BJ he has ever had, he is with you.
He's not with her.
And over time, he will honestly forget about that other one, and you will be the best.
Communicate with him, find out what she did that he thinks was so much better.
She may have hit on a kink that he has, that you don't know about yet.
Talk with him, and don't take it as an ego blow, take it as a challenge. That's only the best blowjob he's ever had so far. You spent all your time telling if people are lying, now you can spend time working on the best blowjob.
You can get better at them. Practice makes perfect. Plot twist, your boyfriend has figured out his own tell too. Now he's using it to trick you into giving even more mind-blowing BJs. Today I fucked up by lying about my relationship in 2015-16. So, today I fucked up by telling a massive lie back in 2015, and now it's coming back to haunt me.
Back in college in 2015, I was the only single guy in my friend group, and my best friends, who didn't go to college with me, kept teasing me about it.
They even tried setting me up with a girl I had no interest in. To get them off my back, I lied and said I was dating a girl from college. Let's call her Jane.
At the time, I had a huge crush on Jane and convinced myself that we would eventually start dating.
So, in my head, it wasn't really a lie, just an exaggerated truth.
But as you can guess, the lie snowballed.
My friends believed me,
and eventually, the story reached my family too.
As Valentine's Day 2016 approached, I decided to confess my feelings to Jane. Unfortunately, she was into another guy, so nothing happened between us.
But here's where things get complicated. Even after Jane turned me down, we continued hanging out like regular friends. I posted stories with her, did all the usual friend stuff, but everyone else was convinced she was my girlfriend. And honestly,
I liked that they thought that, so I never corrected them.
Fast forward to early 2017, I started liking another girl and decided I wanted to pursue something real. So, I told everyone that Jane and I had broken up and that I was single again.
I dated a few other people after that, but none of those relationships lasted more than 2-3 months.
However, my relationship with Jane remained the biggest one in everyone's eyes, and neither my friends nor my family ever forgot about her.
Now, jump to 2024.
The twist is, I actually started dating Jane. How this happened is a story for another time, but let's just say I may have changed my entire personality to get her attention.
I started watching the shows she liked, listening to her favorite music, and even ended up loving those things myself. I've done a lot to win her over, and honestly, I like who I've become.
But here's where I fucked up. My birthday is coming up in a few days, and Jane is likely going to reach out to my friends or sister to plan something.
I'm now stuck wondering, do I come clean to Jane about the lie I told in 2015? Or do I just confess to my friends and family? I'm afraid that if she finds out from someone else, it could all blow up in my face. Too long did not read. Lied about dating a girl in 2015 to stop my friends from teasing me. Ended up actually dating her in 2024. Now, I'm not sure whether to come clean about the lie because it could all blow up during my upcoming birthday.
Hey, this is going to sound weird, but I used to have a huge thing for you ages ago and my friends and fam used to tease me all the time. So I made up a lie and told them we're dating just to get them off my back. Just thought you should know in case they make any weird comments about it.
Let's just say I may have changed my entire personality to get her attention. I started watching the shows she liked, listening to her favorite music, and even ended up loving those things myself. I've done a lot to win her over, and honestly, I like who I've become. Yikes. Always come clean, dude. She will find out eventually if you continue somehow. The earlier you mention it, the better. This is an interesting one. I think it's best just to come clean to everyone and certainly at least Jane.
Just downplay how much you talked about it to Jane and laugh it off.
She might think it's a little weird, but if it doesn't become a huge thing, then it'll blow over and she'll forget about it.
However, if you try to hide it from her and tell your friends and family not to say anything, then you're beginning an important relationship with a lie, and that doesn't usually end well. Changing your entire personality to get someone to date you that you've been obsessed with for almost 10 years is really weird behavior.
And you can say it was unintentional, but it wasn't. You know that.
How do you tell someone you lied about dating them for years without sounding like a bit of a weirdo?
Did you tell everyone it was specifically this Jane? Others exist, lol. Today I fucked up by assuming building meant building. So today, literally 4 hours ago, this all went down.
I, 23F, had a drug test for a dream job. One that would get me out of my current job, set me up with a whole new career. The whole shebang. I've done one test before back in high school, but this was my first professional one. My partner and I went into the office building where the lab is. I went in and was unable to provide a specimen. So they said that I had 3 hours. I could drink maximum 12 ounces of water. And to not leave the building. I said got it and went out to see my partner. The lobby was really cramped since people started coming in, and I thought it'd be best to go to the hall and pace a bit to get stuff moving. I've heard movement helps you pee.
I go back inside and the woman takes me back and tells me it was a refusal to submit. I ask what do you mean, and she says that I left the building. I told her I hadn't. I was in the hallway, and she said nope, you left the building. I didn't argue and that's what she sent off. I went back to my car and sobbed for like 2 hours because I thought everything was over, and I called my mom and she said to pay for my own test to be done, so there is written proof of a negative drug test on the same day as the refused one. $170 later I took the other one and sent an email to my recruiter who doesn't seem to answer phones, and reached out to the third party in charge of background checks. They said they'd write it in the report because they were sent my results from the lab, but that the employer has to be okay with it being a test submitted by my hand. My argument is that she should have said lobby and not building. The word office works too. There is even camera footage of me just walking in the short hallway outside of the door. So now it's in God's hands and I'm freaking out, but there's really not much more to do. Sue. Too long did not read. Left the room of a drug test and now I could lose a dream job. Also, please don't roast me too harshly. It really was a mistake. I just get pee-shy under pressure.
If they gave inaccurate or even just unclear instructions to you, tell them you want to submit official feedback about the service. If accredited, they would need to have a quality management system to do the work they do, which means they should have a feedback form and your feedback must be recorded and reviewed. Telling someone not to leave the building when they mean don't leave the office is a significant mistake on their part and should be totally unacceptable for an accredited testing service. If you are able to submit feedback, also ask them for a response and to reimburse you for your out-of-pocket to have another test. May or may not get any compensation, but it doesn't hurt to try. I'm sorry you went through that and I hope it turns out in your favor. Maybe when the company recruiter reaches out, you can just bluntly, politely tell them, I have no issues taking or easily passing a drug test. They simply gave unclear instructions at the lab when all I was doing was drinking water and walking around so that I could provide the specimen. The fault is 100% on the lab. They typically have clear instructions to cover almost all scenarios, which include wording properly when giving directions.
I'm sorry for your trouble and I hope it works out.
Gotta say, here's where being a 60-year-old guy pays off in spades.
These days, you want a urine sample from me, bam. Done. You sure that's enough? I got more.
If it makes you feel better. There is still no guarantee you would have passed. My wife failed a pre-employment drug test for THC and she doesn't smoke or even use CBD.
Told us it would cost US $300 to contest the test. Took a drug test for a different potential employer a few days later and passed. The tests have more false positives than the labs cares to admit. Or honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the testing lab techs are getting paid under the table to swap their buddy's hot specimen for a suspected clean specimen submitted the same day.
It's definitely shitty wording on her part to say building instead of that specific section of the building, but you also understand that rule is so they know you haven't gone and swapped pee or secretly chugged half a gallon of water? You could have assumed she meant stay in the area that makes it so they know you didn't do any funny business. Either way, definitely keep getting in touch with the recruiter and see if it's possible to do the drug test again.
Also, awesome thought by your mom to get your own as proof. Good luck. I'm sorry this happened. I was hoping employers would be done with the pee test bullshit by now. LPT, if you have a pee test scheduled, drink 8-12 ounces of black tea beforehand. If you won't be stuck in transit or in traffic.